Dear President Wiederer, dear delegates, dear participants of this year's European Handball Convention. When President Wiederer invited me to contribute with a keynote to your today's conference, I was very excited and very proud as well. For I really feel honored and privileged being given the opportunity to talk to you today. And I actually assure you that I do very much complain to being not able to be present at Vienna today. But you probably understand that it was hardly possible for me to travel to Vienna when the German government only 2 days ago declared the Austrian capital to be a risk zone in terms of COVID pandemic. So I beg your pardon that I can't be present here today, and I mostly regret it because I was very much looking forward to talk to you physically, to join in your talks and to contribute by my ideas and my perspectives on playing. And I actually want to encourage you and to inspire, because I actually hold that inspiration and encouragement might be what you need in these troubled times of a global pandemic. So I am talking to you as a philosopher today who only a couple of years ago wrote a book which had the German title Rettet das Spiel, which is Save the Game in English. So by coincidence, Save the Game is also the title of my talk today. It's quite a funny circumstance, as it seems to me. But to be honest and to be serious, when I wrote this book, I couldn't guess how urgent the appeal Save the Game would be in fall 2020 in times of COVID-19. Now, the plain truth is that the game has to be saved. The game handball in particular, and playing games in general. So whenever I'm talking about games this morning, please understand that I'm talking about both of them. Both the game called handball and the human practice we call game or play. For this, please allow me one more preliminary remark. In my German mother tongue, both words, game and play, will be translated by one single word only, namely Spiel. And the verb spielen is both playing and gaming. And moreover, spielen also is the proper translation for what we call in English gambling. So my title, Save the Game, covers a broad range of games. It's about playing, gaming, and gambling as well. Save the game. Why this? As mentioned before, at present, the game is threatened. It is threatened by two dangers, which are mutually reinforcing. One threat is new, however, it's a COVID-19 pandemic due to which sports and games could not be exercised for months, neither by professionals nor by amateurs. On the other hand, the game is threatened by a danger which spread long before the virus entered the stage. I am talking about the commercialization and instrumentalization of the game. Games more and more suffer from being subdued to commercial interests, which silently alter and also erode them. So when it comes to understand to which extent the game is threatened in these times and what can be done to save our games, we have to ask some compelling questions. What is the game? What is its very essence? What does it mean to play? Now, the reign of games is almost immeasurable. Given this, it is not easy to give a distinct and simple definition of what a game essentially is. But in order to achieve a suitable understanding of the essence of playing, I want to take a kind of double approach. First, I shall try to structure this broad field of games, and second, I shall try to identify some basic features which can be found in any game. So let me first talk about what I call the archetypal family of games. Across all cultures of humankind and of the world, 4 different archetypes of games can be distinguished, all of which derive from a 5th, let's call it original or archaic type of playing. We can devise these different game families, as I like to call them, by their different venues or locations. The first and most ancient group of games is located, perhaps surprisingly for you, in a place which is used to be called the temple. We can call these kind of games the cultic games. Cultic games are ceremonies of shamans or also of priests, which had been practiced in indigenous and tribal societies for millennia. All the other games we can observe nowadays in a more or less distinct way derived from these cultic games, which still exist in some tribal societies, in the indigenous communities all over the place. I will not interfere too much into these type of games because it is really an archaic family. But there are some very, very important offsprings of the cultic games, mostly the games we call performative games. I'm talking about the games which are performed on a stage. The oldest example of this family of games can be found in ancient Greek tradition, in the Greek tragedies, from which all our opera, theater plays, concerts, ballet performances, and so on derived. As mentioned, the specific venue of this game family is nothing else but the stage. The very location of the third family of games, however, is something quite different, namely the casino, or as some call it, the gambling house. By now, I am talking about gambling and any other kind of games belonging to the reign of the ancient goddess Fortuna. We can call them luck. The ancestor of gambling is the ancient oracle, a place where the priests loaded the dice in order to predict the future or to discover the truth. Kind of playing as well, which still exists in places like Las Vegas and other of that kind of family. So the 4th family of games is performed in a place you all know. It is usually called the circus. This is about artistry, about skillfulness. It's about acrobats and jongleurs, about tightrope walkers, and about children as well, who in the young years, when they are still in their childhood days, they all try to prove their own skillnesses when they play with bricks or with sticks or whatsoever. These are all types of that family of games which can be called the family of artistry, in which it is about to demonstrate the skillfulness of human beings. Finally, I come to the 5th and biggest family of games, and this is a clan of the competitive games, which are performed in stadiums, huge arenas, or giant sport halls. Handball, as well as her sister football, are probably the most prominent examples of these type of games. Now, these 4 basic archetypes of games are directed by what I would like to call different logics, which in turn result in different rules and different settings. Let's take a look at it. Performing arts obey the logic of exposing. On the stage, human vices or virtues are exposed. But not only that, in a concert or a symphony, for instance, the cosmic harmony or tune is performed. So this family of games, these performative games, they show something. They expose something which would not be seen and which would not be exposed in any other place of the world instead of stages. Gambling, however, obeys the logic of revealing. When you go to a gambling house, one crucial question will be answered, namely, today, who will be the darling of Fortuna? Who will be the lucky one? And you will only find it out by playing the game, by gambling. Artistry, on the other hand, obeys the logic of skillfulness. You know that amazing experience everybody can make in a circus when you see these incredible moves that can be done by human beings. Nobody would have ever seen them in any other place than in a circus. So artistry based to the logic of skillfulness. And the competitive games, such as handball or football, obey the logic of success and winning. They give the answer to the question, who will lose and who will win? A game like handball, however, combines elements of all the four archetypal kinds of games. And I suppose this is a very secret why handball is quite an attractive game, a beautiful game, which attracts lots of people, not only as players, but as spectators as well. A game full of attraction and thrill. But handball not only combines these four different types of games, it also displays what I call the four basic features by which the very essence of games can be defined. So what am I talking about? Which are these four basic features of games? Common to all games, which are some essential signatures, as I like to call it, which must be met if a game shall be considered to be a true game, a real game, a game which is essential. However, some of these basic features are more evident than others in the different game families mentioned above. First, games are communicative and they are interactive. Or in other words, they are social. It is one of the amazing advantages of games that they can bridge social, ethnical, and also cultural gaps. People play together regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their sex, regardless of their nationality. When it comes to playing, everybody plays together. So there lies an incredible, hardly measurable value for any society that can't be appreciated enough. You can say that a game which is played by lots of people is kind of glue for social interaction and social belonging in our modern, diverse societies. The second point, games are unpredictable, and that's the very secret of their thrill. Because as it comes to the competitive games, nobody knows who will be the winner. And as it comes to the games of artistry, nobody knows if the juggler succeeds. Also, on a performative play, nobody knows how Hamlet will behave this time. It's all unpredictable, as well as it is unpredictable how the dice shall fall in a casino or a gambling hall. So games are unpredictable, and the third key feature of any game is that it is purposeless. Games belong only to themselves. This is a very crucial point. And this is exactly the secret of their freedom, a secret which has to be defended against the threat of commercializing them and against the threat of instrumentalizing them, perhaps by things which are called gamification in our times. But in a pure game, nothing else is intended but playing itself. Players are playing for playing's sake. This is a very, very important sentence. Players are playing for playing's sake. They don't have to produce any output for the world beyond the game or the play field. Even professionals, and I can tell you as someone who played football in former times, even professionals don't play for prize money. If they do, they are not players anymore, but businessmen in disguise, which is something quite different. So the liberty and purposelessness of games is secured by three factors. First, playing times which separate the game from daily routines, from the daily agenda, from our daily behavior. Second, the playing fields, by which the game is sharply separated from places of work, of daily routines, of our common daily life. And the third important factors to secure the liberty of a game are the rules of the game, by which the players and their actions and behaviors are focused to the idea of the game they are playing. So we had three main features, namely the social aspect, the unpredictability of games, and third, the purposelessness of games, and you can also call it the liberty of games. The fourth feature is the fact that games are meaningful and that they reveal something meaningful. Through playing, a new reality is generated. As I mentioned before, on a stage something is displayed which had never been seen before. In the arena, it turns out who will be the winner, which nobody could ever predict. A new skill is performed. A new reality is born in the field of playing. And this is something very, very important. So given this, we can turn to a second question. Why does the game need to be safe? I hold, in the light of the four basic signatures of the game, or the four basic features of the game mentioned above, we can now recognize the immense value of games, and we can also understand why they have to be rescued from the current dangers. Namely, playing. Playing, ladies and gentlemen, is a deeply human phenomenon. Games are, let's call it, sanctuaries of human life, of human aliveness. Or as the German poet Friedrich Schiller once took it, man is only fully human while playing. Man is only fully human while playing. Let me describe it a bit more accurate. When people play, they satisfy the fact that humans are social beings of connectedness and belonging. We can only develop our potentials in cooperation with others. All real life is encounter, said the German philosopher Martin Buber, and by this exposed one of the main features of human existence. We are social beings, and when we play, we can realize the fact that we are social beings. Second, humans are neither machines nor algorithms, but we are creative and even disruptive creatures. The unique dignity of humans is due to the unpredictability and our surprising moves. Nobody can tell how we have to behave. There is no eternal law how humans should perform their lives. No, we are creative. We have the chance to change our habits and our customs anytime. Third point, when people play, they experience a high degree of liberty and freedom. The freedom is due to the purposelessness of the game, and it opens a space of creativity. As players are not forced to produce an output, they have the chance to unfold their potential. And this is something which really meets the essence of human existence. And the fourth point, wherever people play, they experience meaning, and meets the simple circumstance that we as human beings always, by our own very nature, strive for meaning. And to quote a famous inhabitant from Vienna, I would like to quote Viktor Frankl, the famous psychiatrist who once said, "The will for meaning determines our life." And the will for meaning will be satisfied by playing. Therefore games is something so important for human existence. But all these aspects I was talking about, of the very essence of games, currently is endangered. Why? However, the COVID pandemic forces physical distance, and by this destroys our games by prohibiting physical and social proximity. The COVID pandemic also forces the games to be separated from spectators. And this is really dangerous because games need spectators. Spectators to whom they display something meaningful or beautiful, and for whom they simply make sense. To be honest, spectators are part of the game. You can't separate the action on the play field from the spectators. And therefore the exclusion endangers the essence of playing. And the third point, the emigration of games from the analogous world, from the stadium or the arena into digital media, fosters the danger of their instrumentalization and commercialization. Games are getting converted into products of the entertainment industry, and by this they lose their magic, their thrill, their dignity. They become entertainment. But games are far more than entertainment, and this is true for handball as well. Games are magical places where meaning and beauty is generated. So the game has to be saved. But how can it be done? And this, however, I have to confess, is the most difficult question of all. As for handball, it seems to me that at least in the current situation, two things are urgently required. And luckily enough, they are partly already being realized. So let me first take a look to the professional players. It seems to me that by, let's call it, barracking the gaming communities in the professional sector, the obligation of physical distancing can be avoided partly. For amateur sports, however, we need a clever handling to make practice and competition possible, because we all know the game will die sooner or later if there are no more tournaments anymore, if there are no more spectators. So we definitely need to have public sports events with spectators, and I really appeal to the officials and to the ones being responsible for this that they show a bit more courage in order to make this possible. Yes, generally speaking, we all need to be more courageous, because physical spectators must be admitted to games again, and preferably real fans who are not merely consumers, but who really play along with the action going on in the playing field. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, my intention is to encourage you to use your influence to take the necessary steps to save the handball game from current dangers, and to make sure that in future times, handball will still unfold its unique magic, magnificence, and beauty. I thank you for your attendance. Thank you.